We are YA Talks, standing for Young Adult Talks. Joining us today, we have myself, Marie. We have Freddie, Lita, and Malia. We'll be having a conversation about social media and its impact on society. In our first segment, we'll be talking about diet culture and beauty trends. In our second one, we'll be talking about TikTok and the fast fashion trends. And then our last one will be talking about the impact of social media with iPad babies and the ban of TikTok. We hope you enjoy. So starting off with segment one, I want to go into health and beauty. So the theme that I want to focus on is kind of beauty standards and diet culture. How would you guys describe diet culture?
I would describe diet culture today as it's just more prevalent, just like little things like such as keto or certain diets with like no sugar for a certain amount of days. I think we were talking about someone that said no sugar. I forgot what the diet name was called though. I don't know if you remember.
I think keto is more so no sugar, but I know there's like also like paleo or even like the carnivore diet, which is like an extreme of no sugar at all, and with no veggies at all either. But yeah, it's definitely really prevalent and talked about in like the realm of media. Freddie, what is your experience with like diet culture?
My experience with diet culture right now, I'm doing a thing called the GOLO, GOLO, where you take a capsule 3 times a day with each meal, or half an hour before each meal, or each meal, yeah. And it's going pretty well because it's maintaining my weight balance, so it's like I can still enjoy like some of the foods I like to eat and not have, and being able to control it.
Yeah. I had a coworker that actually told me about this thing called berberine, which it's often used in Chinese medicine, but it's used at a moderate rate. So you would have it before each meal, and depending on how much grams and the outcome that you want for it. So for hers, she was taking it before each meal, and they would help her kind of like not be so hungry afterwards, and also like subsidize like craving. Like if you're just constantly thinking about like food, she had told me about that, and I think she had also got that off of TikTok as well. But then like, you know, there's like the harmful side of it where it's like if you got like the more grams you took, then you wouldn't be hungry at all. Like just thinking of food would make you nauseous, which is obviously not the outcome that you want. And I think when we talk about diet culture, we talk about like how food is just kind of like an enemy, and how like Freddie was saying is like you still want to enjoy it and not be as like restrictive. So what do you guys think about the like what I eat in a day videos, or like I'm a registered dietitian trend and this is what I eat? Like what do you guys think of those trends? Do you think they're harmful, or do you think that they like offer like good meal prep ideas and good health standards?
I think they could be pretty harmful. Like the Tiffany plate trend that was going around on TikTok, she labeled herself as like a dietitian because she had the Tiffany plate for her own health reasons, and everybody else started going onto it where all she did was eat fruit and cottage cheese and vegetables and then like sausage, and that was it 3 times a day. That same meal.
Yeah.
And that was it. And then everybody else started hopping on it when she did it because she had like a specific condition, and everybody else was like, oh, she's so healthy, and did it too. So I think it's pretty toxic that everybody like hops on these trends like that. I feel like the only like diet advice you should be taking is from like your doctor.
Yeah.
So
right.
Also too, now that you pointed that out, like it's always good to research and understand what the benefits are and the risks are before trying the diet. And yes, it's always a good idea to consult with your doctor first.
Exactly.
Although, you know, and I don't blame most of us for being afraid to do that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And even with something going off of what we talked about, the keto and carnivore diet, right? That one I think is really influential for like older moms who like I feel like moms are often the target of those diets. I know younger people also do it, but just moms, like when it comes to like Ozempic or any type of thing like that, like they just really want to lose that like stubborn weight, and they have a lot of like confidence issues. So it's sad that they like succumb to like keto or something like that when it's not good for them, right? Like I know I don't eat meat, so I obviously come from a place of like carnivore diet is bad, right? But it is kind of odd to think of a diet where there's no like vegetables, right? There's only like meat, or like something like keto, the same thing where there's no fruits because fruits have like sugar. And so like my stepmom, whenever she did keto, she would be eating like cheese and meat, and she'd be like, I'm so sick of it. I'm like, don't eat it then. Like, you just kind of don't sound happy with that diet. So that's interesting. But what would you guys say has been like the most influential trend when it comes to dieting, and especially when it comes to like younger people, and just like what are the harms of like those diets? Like what are the risks of like participating in a diet without knowing like what it can do to you exactly?
I think just diet culture in general on media, there's definitely pros and cons. With the pros that I see that I'm more into is, certain diets for certain like diseases, or like, you know, I guess there's like eczema, like how it can flame up, your rashes, or even like for acne, we talked about like certain things could um, make it flare up or make you break out more. So I think that's really interesting to learn about. Or people with like PCOS, there's certain things that they should avoid, and what should they eat, or like gut health and things. But I think the harms, just like we talked about keto, with it you're missing a lot of nutrients. So it's like you have to take certain supplements, but they don't highlight that on like your minute-long video on TikTok,
Yeah.
and go in depth about it. So people who start it, they're not really educated on that, and it can cause like health issues. So I think that's definitely a risk there. So I would say before you start a diet, it's really important to do your research, because you should take care of your body, and
Yeah.
you don't want to harm yourself anymore.
Definitely. Like that's a big thing, is like doing the research and knowing what is good for you and what's not good for you. On that topic of like doing research, I want to talk about like skincare and just makeup. I think that's really prevalent in the realm of social media, especially with younger kids. Like we were talking about with like Sephora kids. That's really prevalent trend right now. Me and Lita had even gone to Sephora, and just that environment, the chaos, like it's sad because like those products are so expensive, and you can kind of go for a more minimal, just like soft cleanser, that can be good for you. But a lot of kids are going after like retinol, with a packaging that's really cute. I know you're saying like about your niece too, like just that packaging is it's so prevalent and so cute that like a lot of kids desire that. And even with like K beauty becoming a trend, what would you guys say is something that how did you guys learn about like skincare or makeup? How was that taught to you? Even makeup, like if it was YouTube videos.
Advertisements, like even for example, you get even before YouTube, there was infomercials all over cable, all over radio, for products such as acne complex. It's supposed to cure your acne, and or
Yeah.
and also too, like various sunblocks like Banana Boat. They say Banana Boat is the best for the best sunscreen ever.
It's really
So
cool.
it's really easy, quite easy to fall into the trap of buying a product and not working for you.
Yeah, definitely.
I learned skincare when I started having acne. Before then, I had no idea. I was just washing my face with like Dove body wash, something so simple. And it wasn't until you started hitting, like, I went to middle school, early high school, is when you would start seeing like little pimples. So I definitely had to learn quick. But it's like you try out so many products and everything, and like looking back, it's like, oh my gosh, it's how much money I wasted and certain things. So it's tough, but I definitely did learn skincare just because I had to deal with acne at a young age. But I learned makeup a lot through my aunties because they were a little bit older, so they seen it all on social media and like the 2016 makeup
Oh
with
yeah,
the eyeshadow,
the fake eyebrows. Yeah.
yes,
Fake
everything, and I was
eyebrows.
like, I want to learn that. So it's funny, I learned from them, but now I just on TikTok and
Yeah,
YouTube. I
definitely.
still learn from there, and now they're asking me for help, and I'm like, wow, how the tables have like turned.
I think when it comes to like skincare for me, like I mostly learned from my mom as well. I think she really had like guidance in that because the acne was genetic, so she knew what I was already dealing with, and I was just like, thanks. It's your fault that I have acne first of all. But yeah, like you were saying, just the amount of money that I think about that I've spent on skincare products and just makeup that like wasn't working for my skin. Like I'm still trying to figure it out, but I think I've learned a lot of like you don't really need that expensive cleanser, right? Like as long as you're washing your face and maintaining a good routine, that's just like really important. Like my skin doesn't need retinol. My skin doesn't need like intense chemical peeling. But yeah, so I think it's definitely just going for those products that just like are for your skin after you've done that research. Lita, what were you saying for your how were you taught for skincare?
Oh, I was taught also from my mom.
Mhm.
She, I feel like was ahead of the time with the DIY like skincare thing. She would do stuff like she would tell me to like put egg on my face, like specifically egg whites, and then put like a paper towel on it to make a peel off mask. And I mean, I feel like as a kid, it's probably much better to put like egg on your face than retinol.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or like glycolic
Yeah.
acid. That's super strong stuff. Speaking of like products though too, I really want to talk about like advertisements and like we see the advertisements that are on commercials, but there's also the advertisements of just like people who say they're not doing advertisements, but that matters to you. So for example, you could be on TikTok and someone could say, "Oh, this video is not sponsored, but I love this product." And you still want to get that product. It's just this way to kind of like push something to an audience without saying there's intention to push, right? So when we talk about like all these type of products and medicines that are pushed out, on top of that, there's this kind of like topic about this conversation about like mental health and just medication commercials. Freddie, what would you say your like experiences with like medication commercials? Like you were mentioning earlier about like the sunscreen and the like Accutane. What else when it comes to like the healthcare industry? What would you say is your experience?
I would say medication advertisements are falling from the sky. It's raining medication commercials, and it's sad to say that more or less the drug companies are profiting billions and billions of getting us possibly sick with their medications like Zoloft. There's advertisement for Ozempic, Jardiance, and they just like they say, of course they gotta say they're beneficial to us, and they don't even mention the risks.
Yeah, or they do it. It's like
Or
really
they
quick.
they do it very subtly. Like
Yeah.
they say a couple of side like, oh, here's possible side effects or dry mouth, nausea, but they do it very subtly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
To where they get us to try their medication.
Mm-hmm. And so on that topic, what do you guys think about like influencers who kind of like diagnose you with something? So for example, if you have these symptoms, you sleep a lot and that means you have depression or that type of stuff. Like when people can't reach out to like medical professionals, so they Google their symptoms. Like, what do you guys think about that? What are your guys' thoughts on that?
I think it's, again, there's like so much pros and cons because we talked about just like the mental health. There's been just shed more light onto it. So I think that's definitely a good thing. You know, we're talking more about people who deal with depression or who deal with, you know, anxiety and things like that. But when you see it on social media, people use it so loosely. And it's hard because people who are actually dealing with it, and you hear people just be like, oh yeah, it's just my depression, or it's just my anxiety, or we even talked about like the autism too. How people are just like, oh sorry, it's just my autism, and it's like, it's hard because you can't just throw those things around, and it's like good and bad because it's like we're learning more about it, and it's important to understand, but at the same time people are just thinking they have something when they don't, and it's taken away from people who actually need the help or who are actually dealing with it. So I would say if people are really experiencing it, they should definitely seek out professional help.
Yeah.
And even just Googling, I think we said too.
Yeah. Like, I think it's good to educate yourself on like what mental health looks like or what your symptoms are, but diagnosing yourself or making a glorified version of it is really harmful, and just depicts the mental health as not what it is. Like, oh, I have OCD, I'm so organized, or like I have autism, I'm so like this. Like, it's a very harmful thing to project online, and it's a really gross trend in my opinion if you are just kind of portraying yourself as something you're not, or kind of like portraying it as something that the mental health isn't at all. Yeah. Do you have anything to add?
I think media has just been like romanticizing not even mental health. It's more so romanticizing the downsides of it. Like, it's almost like it's cool to be depressed, and it's cool to have something mentally happening to you. And I don't think it's not giving like you should seek help if you're experiencing this. It's giving you should talk about it and make it like a quirk if you're depressed.
Yeah.
And it's just been really weird, and I think unhealthy to the younger generation, because everybody's going around saying, I have depression, I have anxiety, I have autism, and they probably don't.
Yeah, definitely. Freddie, what is your kind of experience with like mental health, or have you ever like seeked out any type of mental health services, or just have an experience online of what that's like?
No, I don't have any mental health experience.
Do you think that it's become like less like stigmatized? Like, do you think there's more conversations about like mental health and therapy and just kind of that realm of like the health industry?
I think slowly, people are starting to have more conversations about it. But sadly, mental health is one of those rare things that the health industry within itself ignores.
Yeah, definitely.
And a lot of and mental health therapists are very limited, and because insurance doesn't want to pay, either that or they pay little for those type of services.
Yeah, it's
and just most recently, counties are slowly starting to introduce like instead of that brings me to discuss some stuff that I heard in the news, like armed police shooting mental health patients.
Yeah, that's definitely like a heavy topic of mental health, and just kind of like how we see people who are uneducated handle mental health situations, which I'm glad that here on campus too, like we have like mental health services, like you're seeing that more often, or like, even the ads for BetterHelp, like even that just starts a discussion on seeking therapy and like just knowing mental health and not just seeing the glorified version that we see on TikTok. On that note, I do just want to kind of summarize what we've talked about today. We've really jumped into like diet culture, and when it comes to skincare and makeup and knowing your routine, as well as knowing the products that you're being advertised to, I think it's a great time to take an ad break and just really reflect on what we've learned today.
the exponential growth from the program from my first year to my third year now, that's what keeps me coming back and keeps me excited and just like fulfills me as a person.
It's so impressive, and we every time we walk in here, you guys are doing something different. It's great. It's
Nothing but opportunities here, and we have sports to cover, we have the equipment.
Because the more ambitious you are, the more opportunities you'll have.
on-the-job training is huge.
You get the hands-on experience.
When someone asks who can do it, you can raise your hand and say, I can do it. So
Joining the class was the best decision I ever made.
Stand by, we're going to go to cut one. And cut one. Cross court to Audrey Jones. Audrey for three. It is good! With 1.3 seconds left on the game clock. Audrey Jones with one of the biggest shots.
the sky's the limit, really, with what we can do here.
All right, and we are back. We're going to go into our second segment of trend and materialism. So to start off, I really want to talk about algorithms. It is kind of like a big topic, especially when it comes to the social media realm. We see like the For You page and everything. If you guys know, how could you kind of explain how algorithms work? What is the technology behind that, if you guys know?
I don't know the technology. behind it.
Facebook's algorithms have changed year after year.
Yeah.
And it used to be before that you used to be able to click through your feeds and see everybody's posts, whether or not they're on your friend list. But now the algorithms has changed as such to where you would have to either add them as a you go to see, you have to click on see first in order to view most of their of your friends' posts. Now they hide some of your friends' posts, even though you have your privacy settings to show as public. And also too they changed the algorithms to where you can only you would have to click on the post to see the whole post.
Yeah. Let me kind of rephrase that. Not necessarily the technology, but just kind of like, as you're saying, Freddie, too, you're interacting with things, and a lot of social medias notice what you interact with and will only share the stuff that you interact with. So let's say, as you're saying, Freddie, like there's people who you'll follow on social media, but if there's so many people that you follow, then it will take out ones that you don't interact with, which can suck because then you're only getting content from one person. So on that note, what could be kind of like the harm of like interacting with only one set of views or one set of perspective? What would you guys say?
The harm is just the one person interaction, because if you don't interact with any of, how you're going to know what your other friends are doing, and even if they ask you, did you see my post? I was at Applebee's yesterday, and I'll be like, no.
Yeah. Sorry, the algorithm. Yeah.
Because of the algorithm.
Yeah.
For example, just speaking of that, like I would say a lot on my For You page or just Instagram, if I'm just like looking for a recipe or something for baking or cooking, and I'm just doing a little bit of, just watching videos, all of a sudden my For You page will just be all videos of, baked goods and all these recipes. But then the next second, if I'm looking up like just some celebrity, drama or whatever,
Yeah. Then it's
and then all of a sudden it
Mhm.
just keeps on popping up on my screen or my For You page. So I think it's just crazy. It's like your algorithm is really dictated for you to just keep on scrolling.
For You page.
Yeah, it's literally.
I feel like every app is different. Like with Instagram, I definitely notice like it'll be only that thing for a while. Like if you're looking for like funny cat videos, it's gonna be only funny cat videos. If you're looking for baking, it's gonna be only baking. But it changes so like rapidly fast. But I feel like with TikTok, their algorithm is so like scarily spot on that
Amazing.
it has a little bit of everything. Like it doesn't shove only something like in your face. It
Mhm.
has everything to keep you glued to the screen.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
and that's
definitely.
like the doom scrolling effect is
Mhm.
like you just don't look away because
Yeah.
it's just created so well for you.
That's so true. And like even talking about like how the search feature on TikTok is so much better than Google, right? Like if I want like a banana bread recipe, it's on TikTok and it's beautiful. Like it's exactly what I need and it's a great recipe I can trust. I can trust it entirely. But then like if you were to go on Google and then search up like banana bread recipe, you're like, what is this? Like I don't like how can I trust this? There's one picture on here and it says I don't know, I'm scared, right? But like TikTok, like their search feature is like like I've been utilizing it so much. Like I was even saying earlier how like a lot of this research, sadly, for this topic has been through TikTok because it's just so informative. It's just so informative. Like every one of these TikTokers will have an opinion and they'll show their opinion, and I consume it. I love it. Right? It's definitely for me. But yeah, even doom scrolling too. Like that's such a negative effect of it is that like it's so like warranted to you that you just end up scrolling for hours. Like finals are coming up, and I'm like, oh, let's go on TikTok.
Or it's like I use it as, okay, I did some work, let me get a 5-minute break on TikTok, and then I just like keep on ignoring it. I just like get stuck in a thing. Or we even talked about like, because on iPhones they have like the screen time thing. So I put a screen time on myself because I need it. Yeah,
But does it really work for you?
it doesn't because
It
it gives the option like ignore for 1 minute, ignore for 15, ignore for the rest of the day, and I'm like hitting 15, and then it pops up again. I'm like hitting 15 again, and then it just becomes an effect, and I'm like, oh, they really got me. It's like an addiction. It really is.
And the fact too, like that shorts, reels, like TikTok, like that just like format is on everything.
Yeah.
So even like I'm mostly a reels girl. Like I'm always on Instagram, and like it sucks because I put that time limit on me. But I have like friends who only text me on Instagram. So I feel like I can only message them and like hear from them if I go on Instagram. Like it's not gonna work. Then I go to Reels.
Yeah, I know we were saying that like we wish Instagram Reels and Instagram was separate.
Yeah.
Because
you could
like,
just cut off that
you
feature.
could get rid of that. Like a choice to opt into
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Definitely. And then going into that, just like the targeted audience too as well. It's like it's kind of one-sided, but like as you're saying, like TikTok it's really formulates that perfect like mix of what you like, whereas like Instagram I think is really interesting where it's like one thing. Freddie, what platform are you mostly on? Are you mostly on like Facebook? Are you mostly on like Instagram? Is there
I'm
a
on
platform?
all of them,
Yep.
but I mostly check my Facebook feed and also Instagram Reels.
Yeah.
Because my best friend, for instance, he plays the bongos and he posts them on Instagram. A lot of songs that he sings. He does a lot of kid songs like Raffi. He does some country. So he's from Sacramento. So but he also calls me and texts me. So which is really nice.
So you like to stay up to date on like what he's doing with like Instagram Reels and everything like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do that.
What have you noticed the difference between being on like Facebook and Instagram? What is kind of like a big thing that you notice the difference of, if there's any? Because I know like they're part
They're
of the
owned
same.
by the same people.
Yeah. Would you say that there's like different? Is it like a different culture if you go on like Facebook versus if you were to go on like Instagram?
Like on Facebook, you get a lot of like written posts. People who would post photos, but I can't see the photos. But people would, what a lot of people would do is they would share, like they would say, okay, this is a test. If you are still friends with me,
Yeah.
please leave me a comment and post it on your wall so I can leave you a word. I'm like, I don't do that.
Yeah, react to this one. What would you guys say the difference between platforms? Not just Facebook, but just kind of like the culture that surrounds like TikTok, Instagram, Reddit, like X/Twitter. Like, what would you guys say the culture is like?
I think they're all pretty different. I used to have TikTok for the longest time, and I uninstalled it in December because I found myself just constantly being on it, like chronically on it. I would just lay in bed, scroll through it all the time, and I feel like after I uninstalled it, I just found myself on every other platform that had like short form content, but I don't get as addicted to it. There's just something about TikTok that is so addicting versus like the other platforms.
Yeah.
And then you have Twitter and Reddit, which I feel like is more for if you like reading posts. So I try to go on those more because there's less short form content to consume on there.
Yeah.
I'm also on X/Twitter. I follow a lot of like politicians on there. So I follow President Biden on there. He's had a lot of nice posts on there, and so.
Do you guys feel like you have to, like, whenever you're using those sites, do you ever feel like you have to put on like a different persona for different ones? Like, if you're on Facebook, you're like, my mom's on here, like I gotta act a certain way. But then if you're like on like a different account on like a different site, like do you feel different? Like, do you feel like you have to act different?
I'm not really too active on either of them. I mostly read posts. Like, occasionally, if it's something special, yes, I'll post something like, "Yay! I just passed my semester," or
little updates.
Yeah.
Love that.
But some people just post things. Some people that I have on there post things every day. Their whole life story for everybody to see. I'm like,
Chronic on there.
I would definitely say Facebook, I feel like is more for the older generation. Like, I always see like my aunties and, you know, my grandmas, my grandparents, and like they're more of the Facebook people.
Yeah.
So I never had Facebook.
I noticed that trend on Facebook as well.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a little bit more family friendly orientated, yeah. And I would say, if anything, I use Snapchat, I feel like, is definitely when I was younger.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That was like a huge thing in like high school.
Yeah.
I don't use it as much. I just like to keep it for like the 1 year memories or
Yeah.
2
Yeah.
years. But I don't really post on it anymore. I would say like the most is like Instagram.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge poster either, but I like to I see a lot of like friends or old people from school, and I have some family. But definitely, you have your close friends list. You want to like post something,
Update them.
Yeah. But then it's like the main one is like what the family can see. It's like, yeah, I can't post certain things.
Yeah. Like, I got coworkers on here.
Yeah, exactly. And then TikTok, I just use it strictly for my own amusement and fun. I don't post either, but I like watching people do the trends and whatnot.
Yeah.
Or just like make it but keep it for myself.
Yeah, in the drafts. Save that
Yeah.
to drafts. Yeah, definitely. I love the close friends feature. It's like my favorite too, because like it's hidden away. Like, I'm not really active either, like posting like you're saying, but just like having my little close friends where they can kind of see the real me, right? But just how do you think these like algorithms like really capture audiences? So why is it that you see like all these people that you follow? What about them like attracts you to them? Like, for example, if there's an influencer that you see, what about them, about their character, do you like that like stands out to you? Is it the way they talk? Is it just the content that they're making in general? Like, is there anything that stands out to you particularly?
Generally speaking, is the way they talk, and also the content.
Yeah, the content.
Yeah.
What content would you say is mostly for you?
Like like on Facebook, and on YouTube, I also follow a lot of sports content. So I occasionally follow posts from like the San Francisco Giants, and that always shines the light on me, like hey, because I'm a diehard San Francisco Giants fan.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. What about you guys? What did you say like would like capture your attention based on like how an influencer dress, if there's any, or you could just like someone you just like whatever, but it's the content that is it the person or the content that attracts you more?
I think it's a little bit of both for me. I really am into like the get ready with me or the day in life of my like vlogs or things like that. I prefer more of that type of things, but I know there is influencers, but I prefer more people who are realistic. So I like people who are still like in school, something that's more relatable, I guess, to me.
Yeah.
Whereas like influencers, they like spend a day with me and it's like, oh, I'm gonna go do Pilates at like 12 or something.
You make me feel bad.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna go like out to eat, and then like on a Monday, I'm like,
Yeah.
I have work, I have school.
Yeah.
Like, let me watch someone who is more relatable.
Okay,
So
yeah.
I think I try to go towards those type of influencers.
What do you say?
I feel like initially everyone's like drawn to the content, right? And then you learn to like the person you're watching. Like, I don't think you can't really find someone based off of who they are, right? That would be kind of weird. I feel like you find somebody because you're like, oh, they're playing a game I like, or oh, that thumbnail is really nice, or something like that. And then you're like, okay, this person's funny or entertaining, and then you like start watching them more, and if they're an influencer or just somebody who makes content online, then you start to like watch them more, and it becomes somebody like,
I don't anymore, but I used to get game requests from like people playing Candy Crush, like invites, like to play Farmville, Candy Crush, Pet Hero Saga.
Those mobile games.
But I don't play
Facebook
those.
games.
Wow. Okay, so this is a bit of a jump from our topic now. The point that I was really trying to make is just kind of like trend ethics and just the way the algorithm works, and what about influencers and social media really draws us in. This is kind of focusing on the ethics part. I do kind of want to also talk about, you mentioned it earlier, the day in my life, the routines and everything like that. Another thing that I see really prevalent on social media is hauls. So you have like the big makeup hauls, or someone will show their entire dresser and it's filled with like a lot of makeup that is just almost like imaginable to you, like, or they'll have like a closet space that just has all of this skincare, and it's every product under the sun, every color that is within that product. So hauls are a big thing, right? And some of the more recent hauls is obviously Shein or Amazon. And we're talking about more of like fast fashion, and the ethics of that and the impact it has. So obviously, there's the affordability of it, which attracts a lot of people. But then there's a conversation of like the ethics of it and the people who make it and just the culture that surrounds it. What are your guys' experience with fast fashion? Is it something that like you've indulged in, or is it something, but like when you indulge in it, is it something where you go like, oh, I'm gonna make a $300 purchase, or if you're like, oh, there's like this pair of pants, like I'm just gonna get these, or what is your guys' experience with that? What have you seen on fast fashion?
I feel like with Shine, however you pronounce it, I was always too scared to buy from it. I was like, they're gonna steal my credit card information, or like,
What's the other one too? The Temu or
Temu, yeah.
That one I've heard
surprised
really.
so many people.
I hear a lot about Temu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm surprised so
I
many
get
purchased
I get
from
posts
it.
on a lot of posts on Facebook saying so and so likes Temu.
Or like TikTok shop too.
Because they hand out sponsors like candy for Temu. Like,
Yeah.
I know there's so many like YouTubers I watch that are sponsored by it, and I'm like, you're really gonna promote this like sketchy website for like buying cheap stuff?
Yeah.
But like, personally, I'm always so scared to buy from it. But like, Shine, I always like would make a cart. I'd be like, okay, there's a lot of cute stuff. Maybe I'll buy from it, and then I am too scared. But I would always be like, no, I'm gonna buy a bunch of stuff because it's so cheap. And then,
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm not gonna lie. I definitely have indulged in
Yeah,
that
yeah.
just because I'm like, oh, that's cheap. So
Mhm.
I would buy off of Shein. But then the videos started coming out of there would be like writings on the tags that would say like
Yeah.
help me or like
Mhm.
different things, and I was like, what in the world? And there
Mhm.
was, I think, kids. I don't know for wherever it came from. I don't know if it was China or something, because obviously they're not getting paid or they're being worked
Mhm.
like crazy. So after I started seeing that, I stopped,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I need to not indulge in that because yes, it's cheap, but at what expense? Like
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I was reading this article from Earth.org, which is a really cute name, by the way. That's what really drew me to it. But it was talking about how like 80% of the apparel is made by young women. So it's obviously a female like dominated field, and they're between the ages of 18 and 24. But that's not documented for like any child labor, right? Which is honestly pretty prevalent. I remember hearing something too about like I forgot where, but it was a building, a textile building that had like collapsed, and unfortunately, like a lot of people were harmed/killed, and like it was young. It was a lot of younger people. It is a lot of guilt surrounding that, but obviously, like people are still buying it because it is affordable. Um, and I also see the other side of it too when I was doing research on TikTok for this, right? There was also a lot of people who talked about being a content creator, making products, and your products being stolen by Shein. So something like crocheting. I know you've been getting into crocheting. So something like crocheting, it's hard to mimic without like with a machine. So if you mimic it with a machine, the stitches aren't gonna look how if you did it by hand. So a lot of the clothing is just always you can always tell if it's machine made, and a lot of the times they'll just steal from smaller creators, right? Which unfortunately is it's really sad when it comes to that. But on the topic of that, what really makes clothes trendy, right? So what like obviously when it comes to Shein clothes, like you'll buy a pair of pants and you're like, these are so out of style, right?
Yeah.
They were just like a style they were just cool a month ago and it's not. So what really draws people into like different aesthetics? What is your guys like experience too with just like making your own aesthetic and like what really interests you? Because obviously we've all been through different ones. Like when we were younger, our parents just picked out clothes for us. But when we got into middle and high school, like what was your guys' experience with fashion?
I think it's interesting, just seeing how much TikTok or just any social media platform influences, everybody's day to day, especially like with clothes. Just people are always just wearing the same thing, or you see a lot of influencers or content creators like these top named people are like dressing similarly, and of course it's gonna make you want to dress like them. It's gonna make you want to look a certain way, like how they do. I probably did it a little bit, but not too much, just because I'm kind of stingy with like my money, so I'm like I don't want to spend that much stuff. So I just kept to like the basics, but I definitely you could see it like even at school or out, just in public at the mall, like you can tell that people are kind of dressing similarly. It's like what you see online.
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting.
I feel like my experience with like fashion, like I feel like in middle school when you started like choosing your own clothes, there was no like media to like pressure you into what to wear. Like I made my own choices. Nobody looked alike in middle school, right?
Yeah.
But like now, like you said, you walk around campus and everybody's kind of wearing the same thing. Like I definitely like try something on and I'm like, someone would look at me funny if I wore that. like I gotta maybe change that up. Like even skinny jeans, I feel like I'm being bullied out of skinny jeans by like the generation under us. They're like out of style. Millennials are so weird for wearing like skinny jeans, or like Gen Z is so weird. And I'm like, you're like 10. How are you making my decision? Fashion trends just go so fast.
Yeah, they really do. They really do. Freddie, what is your experience with like fashion? How was that for you? Because I know it's kind of different when it comes to like women and men fashion. How would you say yours? Did you just like Like, what is your experience?
Like for me, it depends on the settings. Like like I'm on campus right now in shorts and a t-shirt, but if I go like let's say to a certain, like if I go to certain parties like at a hall, or it depends on the occasion. I will either wear like a button down shirt or with khaki pants or a more casual setting. I would wear like either shorts or sweats or jeans.
Yeah. So like you more like are oriented towards like just the occasion and the weather.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
That's definitely how my boyfriend just like. I feel like men just have it a lot easier. Like my boyfriend just t-shirt and like shorts.
Yeah.
Not even like nice shorts, just like athletic shorts,
just
athletic
shorts.
leisure. And I'm like, okay, yeah, you're gonna go out and wear that. I'm wearing like a dress.
Yeah, you're going to really expensive dinner.
Yeah. And he's like, t-shirt.
Yeah. No, I stress so much about that. Like even my socks have to match my entire outfit, right? Like I'm so like color oriented and specific on what I wear, and like texture's not a big thing for me, but like if it's comfortable, is it tight in areas? Like I feel like over the time I've become more stingy with clothes, and like even just like I want my style to like look a certain way that would be acceptable, I guess, like for like the aesthetic of everyone, but like at the same time it's like, am I comfy in this or am I not? Like I'll like a shirt, but I'm like, oh, it's not comfy enough to wear every day, but it's like once in a while I can wear it, just only once in a while. But yeah, that was a great conversation. I really like the topic of fashion, and we could talk about ethics and social media.
Us men are lucky.
Yeah, ethics and social media, and talking about the pros and cons of the algorithm. We're going to take a short ad break, and then we'll go into our last segment of the podcast, where we're going to talk about short form content, and we're really going to dive into iPad babies and the ban of TikTok.
College just got affordable. Up to 100% of enrollment fees can be reimbursed for first-time college students taking full-time classes. At Solano Community College, we are taking full advantage of this to further your future. With certificate and degree programs in industrial technology, aeronautics, biotechnology, and many others, Solano Community College is a staple for success. For more information, please contact the Financial Aid Office at 707-864-7000.
We are back with segment 3, where we're going to talk about the ban of TikTok and iPad babies. Freddie, will you give us a short summary of what that looks like?
Yeah, so the House of Representatives has passed a bill. I don't know the exact bill number, but to either pressure the Chinese parent company ByteDance, who owns TikTok, to either sell the platform or have it banned entirely in the U.S. And one of those articles that backs it up is an article that I found that was recently written on this year, 2024, and it talks about how the lawmakers are concerned about ByteDance's ownership of TikTok because they could potentially steal our data, as well as our data, such as our personal information, and use it against us, or use it for cyber attacks.
Yeah. So the ban of TikTok is just really prevalent right now, as we're seeing more conversations about the effect that social media has on children, especially, and talking about just the ownership, and even when it comes to like political terms, like people wanting to vote less for like a certain party depending on their view of TikTok, right? So TikTok has really impacted so many social, political, like so many realms, right? Even we see with like when it comes to children, especially like iPads, we see them on TikTok, and it's a little weird, right? They're not supposed to be. I think it's 13 and under. It's not allowed, but they are. So the impact of using technology too much, what would you guys say when it comes to like social media and children?
I would say that a lot of lawmakers are concerned about pedophiles pretending to be having fake profiles to lure children in, and that's how children will get trafficked.
Yeah, that's definitely a concern. Definitely. In more like almost like minor terms, I guess. What would you say too on like their mental health, like taking away that attachment to technology? What would you say is the impact for Lita and Malia?
I think that like the term iPad babies, it's because like you go into any restaurant, a kid has a computer in front of their screen. Like these children are just glued to the screen and short form content, and like we see what it's doing to us as like adults looking at short form content. I can't even imagine what it's doing to like the younger generation being raised on like swiping. You know, like it's so easy for a parent to just put a computer in front of them. Now I can go work.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, it's so hard because, you know, I couldn't imagine, you know, as a parent, it's probably an easy thing just to calm your child down. So it's hard in that aspect, but at the same time, it's like, I remember, like, we never grew up on, I mean, we would have TV.
The home computer,
But it's nothing to what it is today. It's like, these kids, like, my niece, she's not even 1 yet, and she's addicted to the TV and addicted to, like, YouTube and stuff, and that's crazy, because, you know, just long-term effects, how are they going to be, like, in the classroom, you know? Or if they're just crying, or they're just going to be so addicted to this iPad that's the only thing that's going to calm them down.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the most prevalent when it comes to the impact of like social media. As much as there are concerns, like I think children are like a big focus of it, and the ban of it. I've seen even like a lot of kids talking about it, like they don't want that platform to go away because like a lot of time that is like something they like express themselves on. But there are harms, as Freddie mentioned, like very serious harms of being on social media. But today we
just had a debate on that.
Exactly, the impact of kids and social media. But to conclude everything, we've talked about the health and beauty industry. We've talked about trends and just the impact that social media has on society. Once again, I am Marie. This is Freddie, Lita, and Malia, and we are YA Talks. Thank you so much for listening.